starting the lecture number 6. That is 2M1, and it
Mm-hmm.
says analyze the impact of failing to act ethically in market research. I just demonstrated in the previous session too, that whenever the command verb analyze comes, you have to work on the keywords of the question asked, starting with the
Uh-huh.
definitions, examples from the small medium enterprise, and the significance. Afterwards, the points which are in your indicative content, you will be explaining them in paragraphs, and then you're going to add the issues and the solutions, that is the strengths or weaknesses, benefits or the challenges, pros and cons, and in the end, importance or the significance. That is how you actually fulfill the requirement of the command verb analyze whenever it comes in your course. Okay. And the
Okay.
question is the failures to act ethical in the market research. Ethic is not like to be only profound in the working culture corporate sector, just to be like everywhere in your personal life as well, in your surroundings as well. Ethics are really important. Now, just talking about the question, break down the concept of unethical behavior. That has how we can actually attempt this assessment criteria because it's important. It's the merit part. Unethical behavior in market research into its components. That is we can add. We cannot be dishonesty, lack of the consent, disrespect, and non-compliance. That is what is in the organizations, right?
Yeah.
So people, they're not faithful enough to the organization, they're not loyal, and they go for the dishonesties act. The lack of consent, we don't ask people much about whether they are happy about the decisions or not. We're not taking their opinions. Disrespect, it happens when we're having a co-culture. It is a very big problem in the corporate sector. We do have the harassment cases, and we have acts as well. Non-compliance, if the organization is not abiding by the laws and regulations, then what will happen? It will be a big problem for the whole organization, and in the end your business can get sealed up too. Then the second point
Yeah.
says, examine each part by discussing what happens when these ethics are not followed. That is what is actually asked in the question two. The failures, right? When there is a problem,
Mm-hmm.
what you're going to work on. You're going to propose the solutions for those ethics and why we're not following it and how we can follow it. Then it says, identify the main issues such as customer distrust, legal risk, and brand damage. Now, what we can highlight the problems, the issues. First would be the distrust by the customer. They're not feeling comfortable enough to be at your organization, at your place, or even placing up an order. Legal risk, again, when you're not following all the rules and regulations, the penalties, then you're going to have a problem with the legalities. Brand damage, the goodwill, the reputation, it's really important. Now, nowadays, it's very easy to post a video on the social media and damage the reputation of the businesses, though, if they are not even at the stake. Show how these issues, now the problems which I discussed right now, it says show how these issues relate to real life business practice, the way I demonstrated to you people. First, explain the points, then add the problems and solutions. With that, relate it with an SME example. Then explain why these are important, linking to research ethics such as honesty, fairness, consent, compliance with legislation. We're going to relate your work with someone else, as in with the point, with some strong grounds. Support your analysis with examples and theories where appropriate. That is how you are going to attempt this part. That is the 2M1. Okay. Now the point starts from here. Number 1, these are all from your indicative content. First is
Mm-hmm.
dishonesty in research objectives. Just like we have objectives in the organization, in the premises of working culture, we have the objectives for the research as well. Because obviously, if you're not going to research enough, what do you think? Will you be able to grow? No, you cannot expand your business. So you need to be honest with each and every factor. We are studying the problem, that is dishonesty. Failing to disclose the real purpose of the research or misleading the participants. Like I would quote a real example too, when the COVID came, they were injecting so many vaccines to the people, but the real cause was still hidden. They were only saying that it's mandatory, it will help you out, it will protect you. No, now the women, they're facing so many problems, whether it's their regular periods, whether they're having, and the heart attacks, they're so common nowadays. These are all after effects of those vaccines. And even the kids, they're facing the problem of autism, ADHD, speech delay. Before that, it wasn't a big thing. The impact, loss of trust from the consumers and the public, that is what you're going to gain, right? You're getting the donations, the zakat and sadaqat, and you're not placing it in the right place. And when the customers and the people, they're going to go and get to know about it, what they feel. They won't be trusting you anymore at all. Invalid data due to the dishonest or misled practice. It's really common in the industries where you have to show the exact figures, but under the pressure, what we do when we're in the corporate culture and the society, we fudge the data, we manipulate it, we show the dishonest content. Reputational damage, especially in the sectors like food, fashion, and tech. Like if you find any mice or rat at the food restaurant, what you will do? The food authorities and the ministries, they just close it up. They seal the business. They won't allow you to operate the cafeteria or a restaurant anymore. For example, Bajikapaya Jeddah, if this conducted a survey disguised as a giveaway just to collect the phone numbers of the advertisement or the advertising, it would be misleading. That's true. If they're not telling up the correct content of the pulling up the survey, they did this why? Because they wanted to know what people actually want, and they're going to replenish it in their abayas. Customers would feel betrayed, possible unfollow the brand, or complain publicly affecting the future sales. It's really easy to mislead the other consumers by faking up the stories on Instagram, social media channels. Why it is important? Honesty is a foundation of ethical research. Like being truthful, being faithful, honest, loyal is the utmost thing a person can do. According to the SOMAR's Global Market Research Code, misleading practices breach professional and legal standards. And that's true. If you're literally found guilty, you're going to face the severe penalties and persecutions from the authorities. It's really a big crime. Lack of informed consent. What it means: using personal data or feedback without permission. You're not telling the audience, the public, the general, that you're using their information for an XYZ purpose. Impact: breach of Saudi Arabia's personal data protection law, PDPL, because my examples are around the KSA, that is why. But from the next time, I'll be adding the India example too, the firms, because you two both are from the India, that is why. And in this way, you will be more able to know about your own country too. For the Saudi, we have the PDPL Act, legal penalties including fines or loss of operating license. Even when they found that you're not operating under the license, you're going to be found guilty, right? Like the people who are under the 17 or 16 and they drive the car, what will happen? If the police going to find it out, you will be in the jail, or they're going to cut off the license. Damage customer relationships and public image. That is true. You don't even lose the performa and persona around the consumers. You also lose the image which is in front of the consumers. For example, Sala Riyadh. Now, this conducts a consumer feedback service on its platform, that is a social media account or a website. Known, if they have sent unsolicited emails to consumers without consent, they would be in violating of the PDPL Act, potentially fined and blocked from the email campaigns by service providers. Like a kind of venture business in which they're providing up their services, but if it's not up to the standard, we have the right to block them up. Necessity: informed consent shows voluntary and transparent participation and builds mutual respect between the business and customers. That is, if you're extracting the data from you, why we're doing it, we need to be very sure and do need to demonstrate it in front of them. They will be nice and easygoing with us, and you can use the data too. Why to hide it? Disrespecting cultural and religious norms, a big problem nowadays. You go to any vacations around Europe or any country, it's a big problem. Asking offensive or culturally inappropriate questions in research surveys. It happens in the organization, mostly multinational. In the SMEs or privately limited companies, things are quite easy. You can, because you know each and everyone quite closely, that is why. But when it's the big names, big companies, we have plenty of departments and obviously the issues as well. Offending the religious or cultural sensitivities. We would be humans and then the Muslims. Specifically in different countries, we love to parade the religious ethics of other people. We love to do it for some reason. Why? We are better, you are not better. You're doing this, I'm doing this. Why? Who are you? You're no one to ask the question from someone. If you're not able to literally wipe off your problems, traumas which you had from that person, XYZ, any relative or problem, see? So try to be calm, try to be easy, forgive people, and negative press. That's true right now. People fascinate the things. They're not true, but they would like make you feel like this is the truth. And that is what we are also going to be tested in the end times. Things are going to be like, okay, it's like that. My God, the technology and everything, and it mesmerizes us. That's very true. But again, we must be quite firm about it that we are already warned about it. At the end times, we're going to test it from these things, which the human never thought about that these things are going to be. Soon the world is definitely going to be taken over by the robots. Then comes the boycotts of social media blackish. Yes, in the developing nations, I would suggest, maybe you have an idea about the Bangladesh too, when they had an issue with the prime minister, the female one, it was a blackout everywhere, so much riot was there. And same goes in the Pakistan too, when the Imran Khan was abducted, a prime minister, things were quiet first. So it happens in these areas because specifically in these countries, there's a corruption, conspiracies. For example, Green Basket Organic Food Small Medium Enterprise. If the Green Basket launched a healthy survey asking the questions about lifestyle in a way that implied moral judgment, for example, assumptions about the diet during Ramadan, it might upset consumers and provide backlash online. Like many people have different kind of diets in the Ramadan. More people are into the samosas and fried things. Few people are not into these things. They are more healthy because it's by nature and by the law of Islam that the Ramadan is not for eating all the time. It's for our spiritual healing and the body healing. Body heals every year. Its importance: ethical research must be sensitive to local norms and values. Respect is key in Saudi business culture, especially in consumer-facing industries. Now, you have seen in every restaurant, grocery stores, we do see the females. Before that, it wasn't common at all. Women weren't there. Even they were not allowed to drive the car. They were not good. Even the concerts were not allowed. Now it is. Things are very easy going on there. By 2026, they expect the people outside the Saudis, the other nationality people, they can buy the properties there. They can run their own stuff, whatever they want. So things gradually and slowly they're going to change from up to down. Okay. Importance: ethical research must be sensitive to the local norms and values. I think we did this. Now to the next. Unfair or biased sampling. Conducting research that excludes or discriminates against a specific consumer segments of manipulates the results. Impact: inaccurate conclusions leading to the poor business decision. What happens in the organization too? Like the women who are running their own businesses, they're not at the stock exchange. The women don't know about them. They're running the business, they're earning the profits, they're enjoying their life. But again, they too are liable for the tax. People who earn the income from the YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, they too were not liable of the tax, but now everyone's paid the tax after this bill passed. Risk of alienating the undeserved or excluded communities. I told you right now that we have everyone, and even the people who are from the underprivileged areas or the localities, we have to give them the rights. Lack of inclusivity damages brand image. Now, if you're not proposing the people with what they possess with themselves, what happens? In the end, you're going to lose your own image. For example, the Mimi markets now conducted the product feedback only in English. Many Arabic-speaking consumers would be excluded. This is a discrimination, a big bias, unfair bias sampling. You have to go for the both languages, whether it's English, whether it's Arabic, because you are in that country where the Arabic is more common than the English. That is why. This could result in non-representative data, poor marketing strategies, and lost revenue from ignored consumer groups. That is true. If you're not going to understand, let's say, Punjabi, Hindi, how you can go ahead with the completing of the survey? You're not understanding anything. Then importance, fairness ensures equity in data collection and reflects true consumer diversity, especially in a multilingual range. That is where different culture people are interconnected and living together, like India, Pakistan, Canada, America. You alone are not there. So you need to take into everyone's consideration. That's important. Despite non-compliance with legislation, that is, you're not following the rules and regulations legislated, ignoring the national laws relating to data collection, privacy, and witness. You're doing everything from your own will. Like this happens in developing nations because of there is no proper law and order. Everyone is the boss, the don of his own life and the cities. For example, the impact, the legal action and regulatory investigation, the ministries. They have the right to regulate each and everything to know whether the people are following the rules or not. The businesses too. Heavy fines and forced shutdown of the campaigns. If you feel like it's against the authority, the law, and the system, just wrap it down. Public trust collapse, especially among the young digital consumers, because they're so much into the social media, the surveys and everything. That is why they feel like if things are not according to them, they just get unhappy. For example, if Jahis use the food delivery platform, they can do for remarketing without informing the user. That is for updating your app. Sometimes we're ordering the stuff and it just stuck between. We're not able to go with the processing of the order and pay the payment in advance. What actually the problem is, they're updating the app without informing the consumers. Whenever you have to update the app, the applications or stuff, please always inform the users the time limit in which you're going to do that so that they're not ended up with a problem. A formal complaint to Saudi Data and Artificial Intelligence Authority, SDIA, would trigger the penalties. Like there is a proper authority who handles everything. Such a good thing. Important. Compliance protects both the business and the consumer. According to PDPL, even accidental misuse of the data can result in sanctions. Like people who talk against our imams, prophet, they go with the penalties, and even the prime ministers in many of the public nations. This happens. If you are not following the rules, you are making their memes and videos, they can report us. As in, they won't report us. The authority who's managing everything, they're going to report us. Then it says exploitation or the pressure on the respondent. The people who are giving the surveys and everything, filling up the forms, the polls, they're also pressurized due to some benefits or lethal ways. Pressuring employees or the consumers to give feedback or framing the questions in a manipulative way. Sometimes we feel like we are stuck. We don't find a way of answering a question, but we are, bound to fill up the space and everything. Impact bias or false data. What we're doing, we're pressurizing, first of all, the respondents. And then do you feel like you're going to get the authentic and the real data extract? No. Mental discomfort among the participants because you're stuck somewhere. Negative brand associations, especially in the platforms like Twitter or TikTok. Nowadays, this is what happens. For example, Shawarma House, if the restaurant staff were told to push the consumers to service in exchange for their promotions, that is, they're going to get the free food. It happens now because of the food bloggers' content at the moment of Instagram. What are they doing? They are promoting different restaurants, but at the end, they're getting the food free and they are even getting paid by it. So it's a big thing. When the normal consumers, they go to those restaurants, they don't find the enough quantity, nor the taste, nor the quality. Importance, voluntary participation ensures that feedback is honest and meaningful. Coercion reduces the research quality and harms brand loyalty. What is actually the coercion? It is an act. When you're not enough viable to talk by your own self and you're pressurized by some authorities. A conclusion, failing to act ethically in market research leads to serious consequences. That is the serious issues and personas. The legal one, violations of the PDPL like by the Saudi or anti-spam laws can trigger the fines or bans. You're going to get heavy fines, not like one or two. If you're not following up these laws and regulations by the Saudi government, then what will happen? You're going to get fined. And heavy fines are imposed there. And most of the time, your business gets shut down too, the sealed businesses. Then comes the reputational. That is the brand image, the goodwill, the respect. Loss of customer trust can cause long-term brand damage. One negative review can literally ruin business lives. Like we people, we have the power of voice if we use it ethically and according to the conditions. Okay, operational, poor data leads to poor decisions, wasting time and money. That is true. If you're not doing the proper homework, proper research, what will happen in the end? You're going to end up with the wastage of money and the time too. For the SMEs in Saudi Arabia, like Sala, Boutique Abaya, Jais, and Korean Basket, ethical conduct is not optional. That is, it's not an option. You need to go for the ethics, ethical conduct, behavior, honesty, being fair in everything. It is central to the business success compliance with the Vision 2030 goals of Saudi and sustainable brand development. Now it is like a thing which needs to be followed by everyone. By upholding honesty, fairness, respect and consent, businesses not only avoid harm, but earn the customer loyalty, competitive advantage, and social credibility. Now, what happens when you go for all these ethical grounds and categories? First, get honest, then you are fair with everyone, you get the respect, you take the respect and you earn it as well. Consent, you're asking the opinions, what they want, what they thought, and definitely in the end, what happens? You get loyal consumers. They're going to be loyal forever. Then competitive advantage. You're going to have some next best alternative for the things. Social credibility. People are going to know you with a good mouth, with a good reputation, and that is what we all want. Before this in the document, I have added the content in such a way for you people that when you're going to attempt the task, inshallah, it will be very easy for you to understand each and everything. Like literally, things are quite discussed here in a very easy and nice way. And here is a real life example. I've just demonstrated that, and that's it. A growing SME in Jeddah specializing in high-end abayas for Saudi women aged 20 to 40. The business uses the Instagram for the customer engagement and market research. We already know this. Market research activity plan. Boutique Abaya plan to launch a Ramadan collection and wanted to understand consumer cycle preferences. Why they were doing this? Just to have some pretty abayas for the Eid and for the Taraweeh and for the get-togethers in Ramadan. To do this, what they did, posted a poll on the Insta stories entitled "Vote for your favorite abaya and win a free item from Ani collection." And people, they love to do it. Most of the people. Then users enthusiastically participate in the hopes of winning. What happened now? First, ethical issues and what went wrong, because we need to propose the problem too. Let's talk about the honesty and transparency. The poll was not actually a giveaway. It was disguised market research. No winners were announced. See, a big backdrop. Informed consent. Participants were not told their responses would be analyzed for the business purposes. It was all fake. People were doing it for what? On what basis? That they are going to get the abaya. Respect for others. Some users publicly asked about the winner and got no response, leading to frustration. Like in the comment section, in most of the businesses, they just closed their comment section. Data protection. The business used the response data to send unsolicited promotional DMs, violating the consumer privacy. Now, what happened then? Several followers unsubscribed and commented negatively on the page. Complaints were reported to the e-commerce division of the Ministry of the Commerce, and indications were developed and quite tough. They take the action. They put down the pages. Boutique Abaya faced temporary suspension of its Instagram ad account due to the violating platform policies and local consumer protection law because they were violating everything. Everything was on the fake background basis. The Ramadan collection launch was delayed and poorly received due to loss of trust. Now, what we learned from it? A breakdown in customer trust, right? They were not loyal enough now. Legal and social consequences. You face the government intervention too. Loss of credibility and sales. You were not able to sell those abayas in such a pace at which you could, if you had done the announcement as in give the giveaways. Corrective action taken later. 3 months later, the company redesigned its research strategy. It happens in most of the businesses and the structures, regardless of their types. Used clear opt-in surveys with a statement like that is why we're doing it. You need to tell them. Your feedback will help us design better abayas. Responses will be kept private. Now, you feel the difference now? That even when you own a restaurant or a cafeteria or anything, you need to be clear with your words, the intentions. Introduced real giveaways, randomly selecting the winners were announced publicly, collected the email consent before sending the marketing messages, and what were the ground key takeaways. Market research without ethic is like marketing without a brand, ineffective, risky, and ultimately damaging. So that is why we always emphasize on market research before anything, like literally posting up on the social media among the general public. You need to do the research from like 1,000 times and then you can go ahead because you have to bear the consequences as well. So that was it for today's lecture.